Hi everyone, welcome to my channel No Lane Restrictions, and thanks so much for checking out part 3 of my Bburago diecast model car collection series. If you haven't already, please check out the other parts and you'll find them in the description below as the links become available. So please go ahead and check those out now. So for this part 3, we're moving away from Ferrari for a moment and we're going to check out this amazing Lamborghini Countach. Definitely one of my favorite cars of all time throughout my my days of being a car enthusiast, and I'm sure a car that most of you have looked at extensively, possibly had a poster or two on your wall. This for sure is an amazing car due to its styling, the way it drives, the sound it makes. Everything about it is so unique and so very special. So I'm going to start this turntable up and I'll give you your 360-degree view and we'll chat about the model some more. So this Countach, just to give you a little bit of history on it, this is a 1988 LP500 model. And let me get this correct, but the LP stands for longitudinal posterior. And basically, the 500 is referring to a 5-liter, because this is a 5-liter V12 engine. So what the LP stands for is that long name that I just said is all about weight reduction and weight distribution. So basically the gearbox is in front of the engine, which is a completely unique setup. So this means that the drive shaft has to go under the engine right to the final drive, and that is a real engineering feat, especially for its time. So this V12 is mated to a 5-speed manual. 0 to 60 is roughly 6.8 seconds, and there's a few different times for this and a few different numbers depending on the model, but it's roughly about 195 mile an hour top speed. Going back to this model in specifically, when we saw the Ferraris in parts 1 and 2, the Ferrari 250 GTO, when looking on the underside of the model, it was engraved as made in Italy, and I think that's just due to perhaps the size, as it was a 1/18th scale versus this one, which is a 1/24th. But also too, I'm not sure if the Ferrari was an earlier production model, but this one here, this Countach, underneath it says made in China. So of course things change as companies move forward, but this one here is still just as special, and even though it's quite a bit smaller, the detail is still amazing. And what I love a lot about this model is, of course, the paint. It incorporates a very fine silver fleck all throughout, and it really gives a nice depth to this model. When it's displayed on the shelf, the overhead lighting is really nice to view because the light just sort of dances all around those curves and lines and edges of the model's body, and it's pretty fantastic. So I'm going to stop the turntable and we'll take a look at a few things close up. I'll stop it right at the engine here, and you can see I actually left the engine bay cover up, and again, just like in the Ferraris, they're a little bit tricky to get open, so I did that off camera here. And you'll see that inside, you'll see that enormous V12 tucked right against the firewall. And it's strange having the firewall behind the passenger and driver seats, but again, this is your mid-engine car, so that's how it's designed. Just like a lot of the other models so far on my channel, you can see a lot of those vents and louvers and inside, rather through the vents, you can see components of the model. So you have these ones here, and looking from the front, you have these vents here, and again you can look straight through. Nothing at the front, the very front bumper of this model, but again it's a lot harder to pull off extensive detailing when you're downgrading to a smaller scale. So you have to sort of keep that in mind when you're looking at these kind of models. So opening the doors, of course, this is the major party trick of this car, and I am so glad that the makers and designers of this specific model, you know, created those scissor doors. So it's a great touch, and oddly enough, I actually don't display it with the doors open because I really like to see the vent there on the side of the model, and I guess I just don't like to sorry about the lighting there. I guess I don't like to really break up the lines along the side of the car. But you know, if you wanted to display it like this, it's certainly interesting, and it's unique that way because a lot of models don't have this feature. So looking inside the driver's cockpit there, you got that steering wheel, very tiny pedals there, your gated shifter, and it's incorporating that really lovely sort of latte colored creamy leather interior. And that's one thing that I've seen a lot of on pictures of other Countaches, that the leather just seems so plush and cushioned, and almost like your living room sofa in a way. And it's just it's a thing of beauty. I would love to actually sit inside one of these in real life. I think it would be quite an experience. I'm 5'11", so I'm not sure how much headroom I would have, but yeah, it's certainly a really interesting cockpit. And if we go around to the passenger side here, I really like how they have this tiny footrest there for the passenger's feet. A little chrome piece there. It's a really interesting touch. And looking at the rear of this car, you know, this one here in particular has the spoiler. And certain models, there were quite a few variations of the Countach throughout the years that it was in production. So some of them didn't have a spoiler, some of them you could actually remove the spoiler yourself, and some of them came with it. So I'm not exactly sure 100% which variation this particular one is, and I'm sure there are some people out there who are avid Countach fans and aficionados, and I'm sure you could tell me exactly which one this is due to certain styling characteristics. But you know, this one has the spoiler, and it's really nice. I have to sort of side with that crowd of people who think it's really nice with the spoiler delete, because if you can imagine it without the spoiler, it really gives it a nice flow to the back of the car, and I don't think it breaks up the lines as much when you have the spoiler, like in this this example here. But regardless, it's still a really cool piece, and if someone gave me a Countach with a spoiler, I would be more than happy to take it for a drive. So yeah, so let me turn the turntable on again with everything open, because you know, these doors are really special. And you can see the door cards with the doors open and the little rolls for the rolling the window up and down. and the side door pockets there. I love this paint color. I know it's simple and maybe it's not as bright and colorful as a red or a yellow, or even the white. The white I think is gorgeous on the actual car itself. But for this model, the black is really nice, and I think it suits this car very well. I love those rims, that almost solid piece with just those 5 holes in it, and I'm sure when it's moving, whether slow or fast, the holes will really sort of disappear almost, and it will look like it has solid rims. It's just a fantastic car. And that giant front wind wiper, it reminds me of my Jag, my 95 XJ6. It has a single wiper blade, but nothing even close to how massive this one is. I would just love to be driving and watching it in action. It's pretty special. So I'll turn this turntable off here again, and we'll close our doors. And one thing I'd like to mention is just for the rear here, when I close the engine bay cover, it's pretty interesting to see that giant bulge there over the V12. And I've heard from reviews of people driving this car that bulge really cuts into that already minuscule sized rear window. So of course, when you're backing this car up, you're going to have to do that signature backing up move by twisting yourself in the seat, sitting on the sill, and looking behind you as you reverse. But it's just hilarious to me that they still even put in a rear window, because not only do you have that bulge on the engine bay, but you also have the spoiler blocking much of your view. But stylistically, it's really, really nice. So there you have it, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out part 3 of this video series, and I encourage you to stay tuned for the last 2 parts in this series. So I wish you all a wonderful day. Please subscribe and continue supporting this channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much, everyone. Cheers.